Oh wow, now we're talking. Although Soul Eater managed to win me over due to sharing similarities to my love of JRPGs, Death Note had me hooked from the get-go with a captivating premise, intriguing characters, writing which provoked my thoughts, and stellar voice work. I've always heard a lot of praises about this anime before and, lesser praises from the Netflix adaptation. But we'll get to that one once I feel a bit more self-loathing.
Don't ever speak to me again.
For now, let's talk about my first impressions of Death Note. Again, before I dive into it, let me clarify that this isn't a review. We watched 3 episodes this time before I formed my initial opinion, and those 3 episodes are the only ones we'll be covering today. Death Note focuses on Light Yagami, a Japanese student from Kanto who comes across a mysterious notebook called Death Note. No, hold on. I'm sorry, but I don't feel right taking jokes from other YouTube channels. I'd rather write my own jokes whether they fail or stick the landing. I'm all for using movie quotes to generate my opinion, but stealing jokes, not for this show. Light is intrigued by the notebook and decides to keep it. He reads through the instructions and is amused by how it works. Basically, if you write someone's name in the notebook, they will die 40 seconds later. He can describe how they should die, but if he leaves the description blank, then the target will die of a heart attack. Light first deems it to be an elaborate prank, but quickly his curiosity gets the better of him. Sick of the excess crime constantly plastered on the news, Light writes the name of a criminal in hopes of calling the book's bluff. To his surprise, the criminal dies of a heart attack, and Light's horror slowly transitions into content. Later on, Light witnesses a rape victim and writes the assailant's name in the Death Note, only this time he actually describes the death. Although a bit morbid, I'd be lying if I wasn't sharing Light's same devious smirk. A few days pass and Light goes full-on purge, writing down name after name of all of the criminals in hopes of ridding the world of evil once and for all. What started as simple curiosity has evolved into an act of judgment. And then things get even more interesting. Having used the Death Note, Light gets a visit from the Shinigami Ryuk, who is quite impressed by the vast number of names written in the notebook. Light is also surprisingly impressed that Ryuk has finally arrived to witness this act of judgment. Light is prepared to accept his punishment, but to his surprise, Ryuk claims that nothing will happen to him, and the notebook is his to keep. Ryuk makes it clear that he just came by to watch the show, since he was growing bored of the Shinigami realm, and wanted to spice things up a bit. But he cautions Light that if he gives this notebook away, his memories will be erased, and when he does die, Ryuk will write his name into his own Death Note. Furthermore, anyone who uses the Death Note will be denied access to both heaven and hell. Ryuk's presence abides by the standard fantasy creature in the real world tropes. Only someone who touches the Death Note can see him or hear his voice. Light has to be careful when he talks because to the public it looks like he's talking to himself. Ryuk is obsessed with Earth's apples. Actually, that last bit is new, but quite charming. God, I want an apple. The episode closes with a bit of confusion on the viewer's part. Should we be rooting for Light? I mean, he's not wrong and his intentions are clear, but again, this is not your standard protagonist that we're used to seeing. It brought up a lot of questions and compelled me to keep watching. Plus, having epic Fortuna-esque choir music for writing in a notebook is way more badass than it has any right to be. As Bane would put it,
let the games begin.
Episode 2 focuses on the repercussions of Light's actions, mainly from the viewpoint of the Authority. Having a large number of criminals drop dead at the same time has raised suspicion, and the ICPO claims that it could be an act of terror or the work of an advanced serial killer. They entrust the task to L, an anonymous investigator who is an expert at solving cases. Using what little information that is available, L suspects that the culprit resides in Japan. We get a glimpse at Light's regular home life and we're torn again. Around his family, Light seems like a pretty decent person. He's top of his class, helps his sister in need. If only he didn't have a god complex. Oh well, he explains to Ryuk all of the ways he plans on hiding the notebook to keep his family out of harm's way. Boast about his new alias Kira, which the public has given him, and again, how he will be the divine god of the new world. But then things get super interesting. L and Light have their very first encounter and
holy crap!
I'm invested, Ryuk is invested, things are getting intense, and I start to realize that our protagonist may very well be the antagonist after all, but who cares? I'm sticking around to watch the show. And with episode 3, the race is on. L is trying to catch Light, whilst Light is trying to one-up L. and keep one step ahead of the cops, and also try and keep his own family from being suspicious of his activities. Every minute is tense because you never know when either one of them is going to slip up, and I enjoy this glorious mind game of chess. I'd love to elaborate more, but I want to keep the juicy spoilers out of the First Impressions series. And that's Death Note. The premise is simple, and the lore isn't as compelling as Soul Eater. For now, at least. But by God is it good at reeling you in and keeping you invested. I watched both the sub and the dub at the time of writing this, and I truly think you are fine with either one. Oh, quit your whining! It's a glorious English dub featuring talents such as Brad Swale and my personal favorite, Brian Drummond as Ryuk. Death Note is a must-watch that I look forward to diving further into. No, not that one! Not yet!